la ka fe bay.
All right, Senator, welcome back. Let's say a special good evening to you again on a beautiful evening, the 12th day of July 2021. We are outside 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the reality. It's going to be election day at about this time. In 2 weeks' time, boy, 8:30, I should already be ringing the bell because the celebrations will be starting. And this coming Friday, we will be having our nomination day. I am joined here, as always, with the Honorable Minister, Honorable Guy Joseph, and he's joined tonight once again with his beautiful wife. Mr. Minister, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Champagne. Good evening, listeners. Good evening, St. Lucians, both here and abroad, who are following us on GVD on Facebook. It's a pleasure to be here. As you can hear, I'm still struggling with my voice.
All of us.
And after yesterday, Champagne, then a statement was made very clearly by the people of St. Lucia.
Definitely.
So very special good night to Castries Southeast and all of our regular listeners to Inside Castries Southeast. I will allow my wife to say good night and then I will give the preliminaries.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Champagne.
Good evening
to the constituents of Castries Southeast.
Yes.
And by extension, St. Lucia, because we know you are all listening.
Amen.
All right.
I was about to call you earlier so we could cancel the program because I know you had lost your voice. I have lost mine. So, but you know what? We're very resilient. We have to continue the work. We have to keep going.
I have backup tonight to make up for the rest of my voice.
Okay.
But I just want to say that I will address maybe just a couple housekeeping matters before we go into the main activity. We're expecting to do a whistle stop tomorrow evening in the constituency. Quick meet, just drive around on a truck within the different communities and address. And now you know I can only do a few communities because I have 33 major communities in the constituency. So by the time you start, if you start at 7, you can, and you speak for about 15-20 minutes maximum in any one area. you can, by the time you do 3 communities, an hour is gone. And if we are going to be out for 2 hours, then we can just do 6 communities. Now think of it, with 2 weeks to go for elections. Friday night is out for me. Saturday is out, so already tonight is out because I'm on the program. So that leaves me with just 3 nights in the week. And even if I can do 6 areas in for the week.
And don't forget you have the 11 o'clock curfew. So
yes, so it means definitely we will not cover the entire constituency with meetings. But I think our people are very understanding in light of the COVID environment and the different ways that we've had to operate. But I think more so my work speaks for itself throughout the length and breadth of Castries Southeast. And if anybody had any doubt in their minds, yesterday all of these doubts were put to rest. Because the size of our motorcade yesterday, Champagne, is something that I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I clearly think that it is one of the largest motorcades that I've had in the constituency. And you know, I've had big motorcades.
Oh my goodness, huge.
I've had very, very big motorcades. This time around, it was just amazing.
Do you know what the count was in regards to vehicles?
I know in buses we had about 54.
54 buses.
That is buses that were engaged to transport people. I would say we had over 30 trucks and private vehicles. I mean, we had about 5-6 music systems. So clearly, and private vehicles and motorcycles and everything. I mean, Champagne, I was a bit disappointed that a little less than half of my motorcade was allowed to go through Dennery. And the rest, they turned back. The police said there are too many vehicles going down south. Now, remember, Babono had turned back already. Babono, from my understanding, I don't know that the police turned them to go back. I think the traffic that they had...
their own decision was...
Castries East had turned back. Now, if you know one thing about me, anything I start, I finish. I try my best when I start. So the fact that my people had the expectation that we were going to Viewfort. So by the time we finished circling our constituency, and we did not go through the entire constituency. We left Forest here. We passed through the Mon. We came down Goodlands. We went up the Bexon Highway to the Sarot Junction. So we did not go inside of Mac. We did not go inside of Twapiton. We did not go inside of Cul-de-sac. In fact, we did not even pass the route by Hess at all, or by Buckeye. We went up. We got to Sarot. We went up the Sarot Hill.
You went up that hill there?
Yeah, we passed through Bel-Air. That's New Bel-Air. We did not go to Old Bel-Air. We ended up in Cooley Town. The majority of the vehicles could not go through Cooley Town. So we just ended up on the Roseau Highway. And then we could not go through Fromage because there were too many vehicles. So we went up the Marigot Road. When we got to Lacroix, we went through Badney.
What time was that then?
It must have been going up to 5 in the afternoon.
5 o'clock, you're still in that area. You cannot get to Viewport again.
So imagine, Champagne, when I called, I had vehicles on the Bexon Highway, and I was still coming from Bel Air.
My goodness.
And had not reached the Roseau stretch yet to go into. So I can safely say when we were in Badney, there were vehicles in Bexon going up to the Labey Junction, the Sarot Junction.
My goodness.
I believe that based on the vehicles we had enough vehicles to fool the entire circle. When all the vehicles, so half of the vehicles went through the Mon, and therefore, and the other half went through Tuapiton.
Oh, okay.
So whatever the Tuapiton people would have seen is a percentage of the motorcade, and what Goodlands and therefore would have seen is a percentage. Nobody saw my whole motorcade at any one point in time because it was beyond what I anticipated in terms of a turnout. Further to that, I don't only gauge the strength of a candidate on the basis of the number of vehicles and the people. Because some people come out for the line. That doesn't mean they go in and vote on election day.
That is true.
That doesn't mean that some of them even have ID cards or anything. But you expect that.
But it's still good to see it.
And contrary to what people say about the behavior, and I did not just make T-shirts and flags available. We made masks available to everybody. And we did not allow our vehicles to be filled to capacity of 14 passengers or 3 per seat, as the recommendation was. Now, I'm not afraid of saying this, so they can say, yeah, you had all these vehicles, but that doesn't mean you had all the people.
Yeah.
They can conclude what they want.
Exactly.
Going around the constituency, it's the number of people who are still by the road.
That's right.
And I have to big up my crew.
You have to give them the bell on that too. All of the people on the roadsides.
In Tiroche in Geno, if you see the video of a lady dancing and a group there and refuse to allow us to pass. Our supporters, And when I got to Sarot over the years was a predominantly labor area. I must say I have special love for the people of Sarot and that environs, for the way they have received me and the way they have treated me and the way that they have supported me. And the work in that area speaks to that. Whether you take the Bel Air community, the Sarot community, Sandy Fe, Chopin, whichever one you choose in that area, we have done work throughout the length and breadth of the constituency. You know, when I got to Sarot, Champagne, the people got a big yellow canvas like a carpet, opened it on the road, with Flabo people lined up on either side of it, and stood on the edge and said, we want you to drive across that. So they did not put out a red carpet, they put out a yellow carpet. I mean, it was amazing, the energy, the support, and I don't take that for granted. I guard very jealously the representation of the people. When I went through the Badney community, there's not one community that I went through. In Labey, in Wavin Poisson, I mean, people came out, Odsa, made sure they came out by the road. They had their flags, whatever they found. Imagine in Bexon, in Sarot again, we were going up. A fella had two big yellow jerry cans that he was, I don't know if it's water or whatever, and he started waving and dancing with these jerry cans. Now, people like the fanfare and all of that. But you know what appeals to me the most? is the love and commitment of these people to the United
right.
Workers' Party.
Right.
Not just to Guy Joseph. Because if Guy Joseph is not the candidate tomorrow, these people, the majority of them, will still be strong supporters of the United Workers' Party.
That is right.
So I value that. And that is why I make my representation count in the constituency. Have I been able to do everything that everybody wants? Absolutely not. There's still a lot of work to be done. But I think that my work speaks for itself, that I have done more in this constituency. And the people testified to that fact, that we have given them, this United Workers' Party government has given excellent representation over the years to the constituency. I would like to, I do want to deal with some other matters, but when they accompanied me on the motorcade yesterday, we were on the same vehicle and I drove myself around Champagne. That's how I've always operated. I stood at the junctions to direct my motorcade where I wanted it to go. Because when you ask other people to do it, sometimes the people don't always follow. So I'm not the kind of person you would see who would take the high seat and just be there and leave the... I like to be involved in the... You know how many things we were doing, setting up the vehicles, and the fellas tell me, no, boss, you can't be working, you can't be lifting up this. That's not my style. I like to be involved. I like to be part of it. I don't tell people to work and I'm standing there with my hands folded watching them. No, I have to be part of it. But let me allow Wendy to give her perspective on the motorcade.
What happened down there yesterday? And I know that was not your first rally, but was it the biggest one you've seen?
By far, by far, that was the largest. Motorcade I have ever seen. It was just like a sea of yellow. And the amazing thing is that the individuals were in a festive mood. They were, it wasn't a sad event. It was a happy, you know, it's like people,
energized,
very, very energized. And I'm thinking, if that is a predictor of things to come, we're in a good place.
I had one person call me yesterday. They say, Champagne, see, just say machine I vote. No, again.
And every vehicle has a driver.
Well, machine is not, you know, they cannot vote. So what we want is to have
the
all
people.
those individuals, plus the others who are at the side of the road, plus those who were in the comfort of their homes looking to come out and vote.
Exactly. What would be the most positive thing you saw yesterday? Positive. Was it the young people? Was it the way they behaved? Was it what was the most positive for you?
I think it was the interaction. I think it was the spirit of the interaction, the camaraderie, the togetherness, the unity of the people. Yeah.
A lot of people say they were pleased with the amount of young people they saw.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of young people.
Very, very,
a lot of young people.
Good turnout. In my own constituency, Champagne, you should have seen the amount of young people that came out to that event. I must say that tonight. I have one, I can safely say for myself, and I'll big up my young people. I have one of the most active group, constituency youth group that I have had in this constituency. And if you, these people, they work night and day. They cook, they prepare their own food. They say, just give us money, we'll feed ourselves, don't worry about us. They make flags, they go and put up the flags. They do everything. I mean, I have to big up the youth group
of
a special love. Southeast.
Special love for the parliamentarian.
And it is how you treat these young people. If you isolate yourself from the people and you don't meddle, you don't mix with them, it's not the same. And so I mean, Wendy can tell you, we knew that they were coming to work, and even if they cooked at the office, we cooked at home. We prepared food. Most of the people who came by that, we didn't want them to go out hungry and they didn't have something to eat. My place was open with distributed T-shirts. Champagne, the party gave me about 700 T-shirts altogether. I had to make 1,300 shirts myself.
Wow, that's 2,000 total.
And people are still, we run out of shirts, and people are still asking
Is the
for
girl
shirts.
tell you run out of shirts as well?
So that should tell you the volumes that we are talking about. Now, in fairness, it's a large constituency. I have over 4,000 people who voted for me in the previous election, and we expect to do much better with the numbers.
Yeah, I think we should. We will double it
in this coming election. So, but what I saw was going down the coast, the East Coast, because I didn't go the West Coast side. You know, when they came with the idea of the motorcade, I said to them, if you do the entire motorcade going in one direction, nobody ain't going anywhere. I said, by the time I would leave, so think of it, when you have Grosile, Babono, Castries North, Castries Central, Castries East, and Castries South, coming down the West Coast to join with ancillary canneries Soufre, and then to join with Choiseul, and then to have Castries East, no, to take Castries Southeast, Dennery North, Dennery South, Micoud North, Micoud South. You would just have one entire circle of vehicles jump the entire around the island of St. Lucia, and nobody would be moving anywhere. When I sat at the meeting, I said to the planning committee, people don't usually see the strength of the motorcade because you one place in the motorcade. So let's do it two directions and let each set pass the other set. So what you'd be seeing is flambeaus would be seeing more flambeaus because everywhere you turn. And I'm saying it is clear, and somebody put it rightly. This is the power of God manifested through the people.
Yes, sir.
We've come under a lot of criticism.
I said it here.
A lot of things have been leveled at the Prime Minister. And I know deep down that this is a Prime Minister who has given more than 100% of his time, effort, influence, compassion to this country in the most trying and difficult times, never complaining, not the kind of person who comes and murmur and complain, has been attacked from the time he was nominated to be the leader. He had not even been elected as leader of the United Workers' Party back in 2013. He has been under attack. We are in 2021. That is 8 years of attacks left, right, and center. Attacks from inside and attacks from outside. Attacks from the Labour Party. Attacks on the color of his skin, the name of his family, everything that can be leveled at an individual has been leveled at Prime Minister Alan Chasney. And with all of that, we've never heard him come out and murmur and complain and say, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. Champagne, this does not come around by accident.
No.
The quality of that individual is not an accident. You know, the book of Jeremiah says, from your mother's womb, you had been chosen for a special work. That's when Jeremiah was called to be a prophet. And if you read, take a little time when you have some time and read the book of Jeremiah. And you would see the things that this prophet endured for the cause of the work of God. He was not permitted to marry, to have a wife, to have kids. If somebody whom he loved died, he was not even permitted to cry.
Wow.
And this prophet endured all of that for the cause of God. Now, I'm in no way trying to say that my prime minister can be compared with Jeremiah. What I'm saying is that God calls people for special reasons at special times. And you see what this prime minister has endured and what he's been able to do is only a man who God is leading that could do such a thing. I'm saying human nature does not allow us in our own humanity to be able to do the things that Prime Minister Chasney has been able to do. And he comes to cabinet. He goes to all meetings. He does everything. You think we don't put pressure on him? When we need money to do things in our constituencies, you know who everybody goes to? The Minister of Finance.
That is right.
And you know what? Sometimes he says, but if it's not there, what am I supposed to do? He says, anyway, I will find it. I will find a way to do it. You know, today, there are things in cabinet that we can talk about. I saw the Minister of Health presented something for somebody who needed to go to Matnik for medical attention. And before she was finished explaining the situation, Prime Minister said, you don't need to say no more. That is approved. That is, he doesn't know who the person is. Just the case that was presented. It tells you the compassion. It doesn't have to, it's not even somebody of voting age for that matter. Somebody who needs help. That is, and that is what moves me to work and to support the PM the way that I have done. And the entire cabinet of ministers can attest to the love and the compassion of Prime Minister Chasney for the people of St. Lucia. Not a make-believe, not a show. He gets into hot water a lot of times for speaking his mind. But he is honest and truthful with the people of St. Lucia. Sometimes even his thoughts he shares with the people. So if he is thinking of doing something, he puts it out there and they're ready to crucify him. And a couple periods of time down the road, they come back and say, yeah, you know, that wasn't a bad idea after all. So I want to be able to set on the record tonight that St. Lucia is at a very critical point. And I was so encouraged yesterday by the size of that motorcade. It felt like a victory motorcade. It didn't feel like we were in a period of time of going to vote and to elect a government. It felt like the people of St. Lucia had voted, had elected the government they wanted, and they were out there celebrating the victory of the United Workers' Party. How did you feel about that, Wendy?
Listen, all I can say is that yesterday gave me a renewed sense of excitement of, listen, all of this hard work is paying off.
Yeah.
And like I always say, that on its own does not, it's not a foul proof. But what we need for is the young people, the older individuals, everyone who has St. Lucia at heart, to come out and vote on that day, because that is what is going to count.
You know, St. Lucia, you have to excuse my voice this evening. You know, I've said on this program that our people, and some of the Labour Party supporters as well, because of what the achievements of this government for the last 5 years, the St. Lucian people have said, you know what, we are going to re-elect this government back into office. There are some Flambeau supporters that have said we have heard enough. Like you said, the threats, the criticisms, all of the negatives that have been leveled at this government, we will take revenge at the poll. This is why people came out yesterday. They're signing that message out there. We will take our revenge at that poll for all of the threats on our Prime Minister, our ministers, the insults, the criticism, all of the negatives. And you will see it in 2 weeks. They will show their might.
I want to highlight a couple of things before I move on. Champagne, this list I have in my hand tonight is a list of people whose houses got damaged.
Wow.
Hurricane
Elsa.
All of these people suffered some form of damage. Personally, I have distributed over 400 sheets of galvanized in the constituency. But that's just a drop in the bucket. These are materials that we were going to assist people who we had promised housing assistance. The hurricane could not have come at a worse time, but that is the nature of the times in which we are living. You know, today at Cabinet, we were informed that funds are being made available to SSDF. So this list will be submitted or has been submitted to the SSDF, who would in turn make some allocations of cash or materials available for these people to assist them in their housing repairs.
Wow, that deserves the bell.
That is in the midst of COVID impact. So $3 million set aside for housing assistance. $5 million for the agricultural sector. Another $1 million set aside for the cleanup works after the passage, or because you know there was a lot of cleaning, there were a lot of areas that needed to be cleaned up, trees to be. In the midst of all of that is good, that all of what is happening, the Prime Minister had to go and get an additional $10 million to be able to get these resources in place to assist in these situations. And $1 million was also is being spent on the repairs of the CDCs. So let's put that in context. You have 5 and 3, 8 and 2. That is $10 million. You didn't budget for that. It's not part of your regular yearly expenditure, or whether it be capital expenditure or recurrent expenditure. When the Labour Party was in office, all they kept on telling us, we cannot find money, we cannot raise money, we cannot do this, we cannot do that.
Cannot borrow.
And remember, we are very early in the hurricane season. So if you are to get hit by, because it promises to be a very active hurricane season, if we get hit later on down the road by another hurricane, you may need more than $10 million. You can depend on the Labour Party to get that money.
Forget that.
Now,
forget that.
That is one, Champagne. Because I promise...
How many people are on your list? Like 30?
No, man, we have about 63 people on that list. And I was told that Nemo has some additional names that I may not have on my list. Here, I have 157 names that was approved in cabinet today for housing lots in Bel Air, Bexon, and Odson.
150.
157.
And you know, at the start of our program, you said, I remember very well, that before the elections, you would have those people, those lands approved for those people. I remember.
And you know what, Champagne? It is also in the region of $1 to $3 a square foot.
Wow.
When these Labour Party people come and criticize us and say, oh, it's only foreigners they're interested in, is only this, is only that. Look at here today.
Yes.
It was the Labour Party who went and sold beachfront property for the range development in the region of $5 a square foot, but was selling land to the locals at prices that was beyond the ability of the people to pay. We have negotiated successfully. I said to the people, at that price, you're not going to get the paved roads immediately. You're not going to get the electricity and all of the things you expect immediately, but make the investment in the land. As these facilities would be added, because think of it, a 5,000 square feet lot, $15,000. Where are you getting this in St. Lucia today? And for the people in Odson who have been occupying these lands for over 30 years, think of, we can offer them the land at, let's say, $2 a square foot. So a 5,000 square feet lot, maybe $10,000. So that is what, for me, that is what representing people is all about.
And there's also a payment plan, right?
Yes. And I know in PM's constituency in Angers, there is a similar project being rolled out. You heard Minister Ezekiel came back and negotiated with the NHC to get the Talvan squatter settlement reduced. Do you know that on the Talvan housing development project, that the bank has submitted $9 million worth of approved applicants who have qualified for their loans to purchase these lands?
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff.
These are people who have gone to the bank. The bank submitted letters to show that all of these people have qualified, and once the block and parcel number is given for these lots, they can pay. The bank will pay for the lots. This is the land that was given to a foreign investor by the Labour Party. JLDP was the company, a French company, to sell 60% of the property before they started the work. We have almost finished the work, and we are now selling a fully developed lot for the people in the area. You're on the shock development that is incomplete, that there's more than $9 million worth of lots that have been, the bank has pre-approved for persons. All we are waiting for again, block and parcel numbers from the DCA, and these people will pay for the land. That is the level of commercial economic activity that is being generated by the formulas employed by this government. Come to Forestier Champagne. Go through the housing development in Forest here. As we speak, I'm certain there are about 15 houses being built.
I was there about a month ago. I think I saw some being built.
So it is clear to me that the formulas we have used have worked. So I want to touch very briefly.
So we can say congratulations to the people up there in Bel Air, right? On the approve. Let me ring the bell for them and that again. The people in Bel Air. Même si d'autres ne voient moi aller, moi still ça des autres congratulations. As who test autres qui approve.
So, and Champagne, the lands are approved for applicants from throughout the length and breadth of the constituency, and even some of the applicants from Minister Fede's constituency. And we had a chat about that. He said, look, I have land in my area, I need to develop. So he's already working on some developments. He said, look, you can take all my people from, from my area to come into your area. So there's one other thing, Champagne, and I don't intend to speak about that to any detail. I've had a lot of accusations leveled at me and what I have done. I just want to be very clear. The Labour Party continues to accuse me. I've heard some other persons who have joined them are in the process, or they have been making accusations about me. All I want to tell them, this is the same Guy Joseph who was in government between 2006 and 2011. This is the same Guy Joseph who was in opposition between 2011 and 2016. And that's the same Guy Joseph who is in government from 2016 to 2021. Nothing has changed. The level of support I give to Prime Minister Alan Chasney is the same level of support I gave to Sir John and I gave to Honorable Stephenson King when he was Prime Minister. And the records are there to show. For that matter, when some of the people were trying to overthrow the UWP government, you remember that, Chairman?
Yep, the Super 8.
When they were trying to overthrow, it was the Super 8 that kept the government in office.
Yes, sir.
That is what happened. Because other people were driving other agendas. People were doing things. People were saying things. I mean, I remember Spider put it best. Spider said, I've never seen a set of people in a boat and everyone is trying to see who can sink it first. And it's all of them and it's all the same persons that are trying to sink the boat that are in the boat. Wendy is here with me. We were in the US when all the turmoil was going on. And they asked me, what is it? I mean, you're not worried about this? I said, I would be worried about this. I would not be worried about that. You know why I wasn't worried, Champagne? I accept what life brings. I don't try to make things happen a certain way. I allow things to take its course. I plan what I want to do and I execute what I want to do. But it's very unfortunate, some of the things that you are hearing. But is only one thing I want to tell the people of St. Lucia. The only sin I think I have committed in this environment is supporting Alan Chasney to be Prime Minister and leader of the United Workers' Party. And the people who are unhappy, the only thing that can make them happy is Prime Minister, and Prime Minister is not mine to give.
Nope.
Now, let me respond to Philip J. Pierre tonight. He said, free leaders of the United Workers' Party have joined the St. Lucia Labour Party. Are they denying that they said that, Champagne?
Yeah, I heard something. They said that they misspoke. That's what I meant.
So Leo Marty, let me tell you, he repeated it for emphasis, you know.
We have it, you know, if you want us to play it.
No, I don't want to play these fellas on my own.
Okay.
All I want to tell the people of St. Lucia, I know a lot of things, but I've always said, what you say about other people says more about you than it says about the person. And so I am always very careful in when I speak and what I say. I know I say a lot of things, but I can back up everything that I say. And I can back it up with evidence. And there's enough. I've always had the truth on my side. And that's the reason why Wendy is here with me tonight. And we will go into that discussion. Because everybody think they know you. Everybody think they can say whatever they want to say about you. And I have been a target all of my life. Look, Wendy is here, a friend of mine, and I want to say a special good night to Bage. Bage is better known as Peter Hermas, my friend from school days in Forest here. And we went to school together. We spent a lot of time. He's in the U.S. He works in the U.S. He's in New York. The first time I went down to New York, he was happy. When I was going at the airport, even though he's a working van, he said, come man, I'm bringing you to the airport. You don't have to hire no taxi to go to the airport. So I'm going to big up Benj tonight. That's a real friend. That's a man who, if I call him today, and he was there, and maybe my wife can tell you what he said Forestier needs more of. Can't remember?
No, I can't remember what he said.
He said...
I remember. There was a lot said that night. It was quite late, going into 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. But he said he thinks that Forestier and St. Lucia needs more Guy Joseph. Now, that is coming from a gentleman who has known Guy Joseph from the time they were, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah.
Very young, and throughout his life. And he really showed a lot of appreciation. He said many things that I didn't know, because I didn't know Guy growing up at that time. That was quite insightful. So yes, he did say that Forestier and St. Lucia needs a bit more, or a couple more Guy Josephs.
Yeah, that have been said on many occasions.
So you know what was interesting? He said even though he was a supporter of the Labour Party, that as long as Guy Joseph is there, he will be a supporter of the United Workers' Party for my sake. And that's and he gave... I used to tell Wendy what I went through as a child growing up, the challenges that I faced, the pressures of growing up. And some things I did not even remember. You know, he was highlighting what we went through as young boys in the community, the challenges that we faced. And you know what I'm proud of? Almost every one of us who went to school during that time did well for ourselves. We survived, we went through the struggles, because these were difficult times. Coming from poor backgrounds, from poor families that were not well off. Being able to hear a friend from school days, and we're talking about primary school days from stage 1, because in those days they didn't have grades. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, standard 1, standard 2.
That's right.
Until we left school. That is, and we maintain friendships. We maintain friendship. He went to the US. We may have lost touch for a while. But whenever we met, that is how we've dealt with each other. So, a lot of people think they know me. And I explained the scapegoat issue. I've always been on that receiving end. But I want to say a few things to St. Lucia tonight. Why should we vote UWP? There are lots of accusations of things that we have done in UWP that should not have been done. And note my words, accusations. They did a forensic audit on me. Remember Philip JPS said that they never investigated Guy Joseph. How many times they said they had how many other times did they say they investigated me? So when he said he misspoke, you remember one time he said in the parliament that he doesn't know anything about Lindquist report and investigation. And I went and get the copy of the cabinet register. And I presented it in the parliament to say who was present in cabinet when the decision for the audit, the investigation by Lindquist. Up to now, they have not released the report. Now I know why the report has not been, was never released. Because there are other people who are associated with them today. The report has much more about them than it has about me.
Okay.
In fact, when they had the opportunity to see part of the best, how you call it, CV? The best CV I have ever seen. I could not write such a good CV for myself. Is in that Lindquist report. You remember?
Yes.
But you know, our listening public would say if the SLP have any dirt on any UWP member of parliament or candidate, they would bring it out to the public. Why are we keeping ours so secretive? Why are we, and you just mentioned that there are other people that the Lindquist report has some damaging things on. Why do we choose to always keep these things a secret? Well, I'm not saying you, I said we.
Champagne, when you're in government, take the impacts report as an example. Kenny Anthony came, he said whatever he wanted to say. Did he ever make that report available?
No, he did not.
For anybody to see?
No.
I believe I have a report on the St. Jude project. What happened to the monies that was spent? I have the Ramsahoy, Safenton Ramsahoy report. NCA, Rochamel, and the Southwest Coast Road. All the evidence that is needed about what the Labour Party did is in this report. The mismanagement, the maladministration, and it borders on corruption. But I cannot say, because these people who do these reports do not conclude a judgment that a court ought to give you. It just gives you the facts that are there. And any and everybody can go and read it and see all the things that the Labour Party did. They accuse me, they continue to accuse me of a letter. Okay? They accuse me of a letter. In this Rochamel affair alone, the fellas was given a carte blanche guarantee to be able to take at least 3 or 4 loans of $12 million US each. It's in the report, and I've presented that in Parliament. But St. Lucia doesn't, well, at least the people who accuse me don't seem to have a problem with that. The Grindberg matter with the seabed. Here, Office of the Director of Audit. The Director of Audit is protected under the Constitution. The Director of Audit can, when they carry out the audits, everybody has to account. Road development project highlights all of the mismanagement of the monies of the country.
So the average citizen now has to get that on his or her own. It's not you're not going to read it out for anyone.
No. These reports are available. I showed where, for example, roads that should cost under 100 million cost more than 200 million. I want them to show one project under my watch that has anything remotely close to this. Imagine, everything I have done is cheaper than everything that they did. Yet still they tell you, I am corrupt, I am crooked, I am this, I am that. So, if that is what they say about me, then what are they? So I do the work better and cheaper than them, but I'm wrong and they are right. So it tells you, and I understand why I'm a target, you know. So I'm not overly concerned. Then you have the minister's account. Have you heard one member of the Labour Party or one media person in the media houses that are out there take the Labour Party to task on how a minister could have, how there could be an account named the minister's account? Take the matter with the Healer situation and the vehicle. Up to now, the vehicle is parked on the port. You cannot present a paper to show that's your vehicle. The account, the joint account with Jufali that has the address of where Jufali resided in the UK has Kenny Anthony, Philip J. Pierre, or any one of them. So in the face of evidence, the Labour Party wants you to disregard all of that information. And all they're telling you is, oh, but there's a case about Guy Joseph in the... I never did anything illegal in the US. If you all say I did things in St. Lucia, why is in the US that I have to be tried?
You're not a US citizen.
So, now, they tell me somebody say, I can't go to the US. Look, my wife is seated next to me. We were supposed to go up to the US. But because of the timing, and I didn't know when the PM was going to call the election, she went up. She didn't even stay as long as she was supposed to stay because I have
You could tell that to St. Lucia, not to me. I'm the one carrying the luggage. Every time you come in. Okay?
So it just tells you. Now, St. Lucians, you have a choice to make on the 26th. Although I know the majority, you have made your decision already. But in the face of, and it was the same Philip J. Pierre and Kenny Anthony who are involved in all of these things. And let me just, by way of passing, talk about the airport. When I was minister responsible for SLASPA, the airport project was cheaper than it is today. I was accused of all kinds of things. But because of who is involved this time, there are no accusations. If I was involved, you know what the accusations would be? I'm used to that. I've told the people in my constituency, and I was addressing a group of the young people, and I said to them, rest assured, Your parliamentary rep will never embarrass you. Now, here's one of the persons who knows me the best. In fact, there are some things, Champagne. When the youth plan to go up to Pitoflo, she told me, you going? I said, no, I don't think I'm going. She said, you don't think you're going? I know you're going. So for the first hour or so, I'd set my mind that I'm not going because you think I'm going. So I'll show you I'm not going. But I still ended up going up the Pito. And then, so when we were discussing it, she said, you didn't have to tell me that. I knew you'd, because she knows when it comes to my, why would I allow them to go? They are people from all over the constituency. And then for me to stay. And just tell them, go, okay, I'll see you all when I come out. That's not my way. So, I will allow Wendy to speak a little about me. Her own understanding of me in the political arena, the kind of person that I am. And people maybe will better appreciate that politics did not make me who I am today. I brought a lot of the qualities that I had with me. And you see, when you talk about an honest person, I'm sitting next to somebody who's very honest, who keeps check on me all the time in relation to any transactions that I engage in. Every day, every time. Even what I say. She told me, you've been very careless now in your conversations. You're speaking on the program. You avoid your proper diction and your verb noun agreement and everything.
Finally, you're doing your PhD at home.
No, but that's and
that's okay.
You know, we were having a conversation and I was saying to her, where I am educationally today is because of her, because she's been an educator all her life. From the time she left school, she's been an educator. I used to tell her, and I got to know her when she was teaching kindergarten.
I was about to ask that question because the cat is out of the bag. I was about to ask you how the hookup started. Where did you guys meet? Because we have never discussed that. Somebody told me it was on a bus. You were going home and one of his buses, he was just...
No, that's not what happened.
I'm just joking.
That's not what happened.
Yeah.
But going back to the event, group of young people, he was supposed to have left home at about 6 o'clock. Now, anybody who knows Guy, they would know that he's not an early riser. He's not a morning person.
Okay.
Neither of us are. He said 6 o'clock. Oh man, that is too early to leave. I said, are you going? He said, no, I think I'll stay in my bed and sleep. I'm like, yeah, right. I said, you're going. He said, no, I'm not going. I said, we'll see.
Right.
Because the kind of person he is, there is no way that Guy would know that there are young people from his constituency, his people, in the Pito, and he's in his bed sleeping. I knew that. He was trying to
avoid it. But
yes. Trying to avoid it, something that's inevitable. And this is not the only incident. He usually gets his hands
in the mud.
Yes, involved in what's happening around him. Same thing. If we're in church and we're having a potluck is what we have sometimes on a Saturday where everybody brings something and we food and all. He is in there. He's not the one who prepared it though, but he's in there dishing out the food, giving people drinks, always involved. And that's the kind of person he's always been. So it's not something that is starting now.
Right.
The other thing too is when after there's maybe a disaster in the community or something like that, he's always the first to go. And I think, I look at him and I'm like, my goodness, it's exciting for him.
Yeah.
Put on his boots. There's a bright yellow raincoat somewhere home. He'd put it on and be on the road, and I'm thinking, man, can't somebody else do that? But I've already come to realize that this is the kind of person that he is.
And it's not even about politics, because he did that way before politics.
Way before politics.
Yeah.
Way before
he
politics.
did those things way before politics.
Yes, yes. And so, I mean, those who do not know will probably, say other things, but those who know would be fully aware that that is the kind of person.
I mean, who puts on an event every Good Friday for the last 26 years?
Yes, and this thing kept mushrooming
Yeah.
and mushrooming and getting bigger and getting bigger, because people came to appreciate just the togetherness. Persons having a place to go on a Good Friday to engage in sport and just lightheartedness. The other thing too is, you ask about he spoke about his education and stuff. I have been an educator from the age of 17. So as soon as I left school, before going on to the MON, I wanted to get my hands, just a feel for education, because that's something I was interested in. And so I've been doing that from that time. We met at about the age of 21 or 22, I think is what I was. And he was older, of course. I say of course, just to make sure we know he's older. And at the time, it was definitely not love at first sight.
Okay.
It was like, I'm looking for the word, kind of rolling your eyeballs kind of attitude towards him, because I felt that there's not a single meeting that would take place that Guy Joseph is a part of that he does not make extended, or he does not bring up something that other persons were not thinking about, and then there's a discussion, and then people have to go at their home rate.
But you didn't live in in the forester community then?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I am originally from Babono.
Okay.
Which is Ezekiel Joseph's community, which is one of the best communities.
Okay, all right.
I'll tell you by far.
Okay.
By far. So originally I'm from Babono, but then so I went to service in Forestier because my dad and my family went there. And every time I see this man, I'd just get so upset. I'm thinking, why does he always have to be the devil's advocate? Always thinking something completely different to everybody else. So that used to aggravate me. As time went on, and I got to know him better, that very thing that turned me off about him is what I began to appreciate. Yeah, I began to appreciate it, because as I matured, I realized, listen, this man does not go with the crowd. There's something called groupthink, where if you're in a meeting, somebody, usually the person who's perceived to be the smartest, or the person who's perceived to have more influence, that person comes up with an idea. And because it comes from that particular person who's supposed to hold the influence in the group, everybody else seemed to go along with that.
Right.
Oh no, Mr. Joseph does not know about that. Mr. Joseph always has to go the other way.
On his own, yeah.
But what I realized is that he was a thinker, a very deep thinker. He thinks outside of the box, and he does not go with the flow. He does not go into or go with somebody else's thought just because it is said. And then I began to what he says makes sense. If you sit down and you think about it and you listen very well and you're not biased, if you're open-minded, you'll realize that, listen, this man has a point. So instead of fighting against what he's saying, listen. And if it makes sense, of course, you go with it. If it doesn't, of course, we're all, So it's his ability to reason that got me, just gravitating towards him a little bit more and thinking, wow, this person, and I enjoyed talking to him for that reason. I mean, I was a young person and, we have all sorts of ideas. So I have an idea, I'd run it by him. Let me hear what he has to say. If it is a business idea, I'd run it by him. And he's really good, or he continues to be really good at being able to think, down the road and look at, possible possible hitches or things that can happen, possible scenarios of the plans that I was coming up with. And I appreciated that, and I still do. Even up to this day, there are people who come to speak with him or speak with the guy just to bounce ideas off of him, because he has that innate ability to be able to reason out that sort of stuff. You have to give Jack his jacket. He has that.
Yeah. So the political aspirations, did you see that coming, or?
Oh, I did.
You did?
I did.
Really?
I didn't think he'd jump on it. I didn't think he'd jump on it. The thing is, I always told him, I said, man, you would be a good politician.
You did say that?
Yes, always. Wow. I always told him that. But when he did finally come and see that, listen, I'm thinking of this, I was not very happy. I was not very happy.
You were excited, but now you're not happy.
I was. See, the thing is, like sometimes you're talking to a child, and the child you tell the child, oh, you will be a lawyer when you grow up. You're so good at you're going to be a lawyer. Yeah. But it's not that you really want the child to be a lawyer. Maybe you want the child to be a scientist, but because the child has this propensity or that kind of inclination, you say, well, okay, you can be a lawyer. So that's what I saw in him. When he'd reason out things and when he'd talk about things, I say, you will be a very good politician. But then finally, when this thing really came, I was disappointed because of what I had come to understand about politics in St. Lucia, what I had seen growing up. I was not part of a political family. I never knew where my parents voted until now, literally 2021, and I've been around for a couple decades, and I'm only, finding out now. So it was not something that I went into willingly. Mr. Joseph, I like to call him Mr. Joseph because I don't like to hear people say Guy and Alan or whatever, but it's just so difficult to say that on here because because he's my husband. But then when he decided this was the way that he wanted to go, I saw that he could make a really significant contribution to the politics.
So the attacks, when they got started back then, because they got started early in 2006, what were you feeling? What were you asking him at that time to just get rid of this thing, get out of this? Because the attacks came really, really fast and furious back in 2006.
Yes.
From that time.
During the early part of it, I was not... I didn't live in St. Lucia for most of the early part of it. Okay. And so I was sort of following from a distance. I heard, but I knew that he could handle himself. Okay. I knew that he could handle himself. And the thing is, it did not bother me as much because I know him. I mean, you never completely know somebody. I don't completely know myself, much less somebody else. But I know of him, his integrity, when it comes to business, when it comes to being honest. And so hearing those things did not bother me that much because I knew he could handle it. Okay. For me, it made me feel sad because I knew that was not the case.
But when you hear those volets, il prend l'argent, this and that, I mean, it has to make you feel some kind of a way, really not in the best way. Because this is your husband here, you hand these people continue to call him voler, not just the parliamentarians, but it gets out there.
Yes.
And their supporters are the ones that takes it and really brings it out there and continue to make mention of it.
Yes.
And it doesn't, sometimes you don't want to just go out on the radio and say, stop this,
See, I mean, it bothered me a lot before when it comes to hearing it. Nobody wants to know that their loved one is being attacked. Especially when it is not true.
What they're saying is untrue.
Warranted.
Yes.
So nobody wants that. So obviously I'm human and I feel the way any human would feel if that is being leveled at their significant other. But like I said, if Guy were the sort of person who would just cower and at that, and it would affect him personally, then it would have affected him more.
He never comes home crying?
But, oh, goodness gracious, no. No. He goes down kicking and screaming.
Yes.
Okay, and so I know that he's able to handle himself.
Yeah.
My only thing, like he said, my thing is to, in our relationship and in the politics, I've always told him, I am an objective third party.
Yeah.
I am not the one to say, oh, you're right, and whatever. No. No, because I have a mind of my own. I can think, and I have my own values.
Yeah.
And so I'm always very quick to ask him what happened, what led to that, what did you see? Do you think you could have said it differently? Was that necessary?
Yeah.
And I'm sure he, like he said before, I can be very hard on him, and I'm sorry about that, but you know, sometimes I feel that everything that he does has to be perfect, and he said that one time. You expect me to be perfect?
Yeah.
I'm not saying perfect, but I would like for when he goes out there for him to present something that's near perfection, I guess.
Since when that's your role statement? Were you there shouting and saying, yes, my husband is sticking it to them?
I know. No, champion. I was so annoyed.
Really?
I was so annoyed.
But the man was standing up there for his...
No. See, let me tell you what happened. So I saw a little piece of the video where he got up and saying since that when that's your role, and I know he was upset. He said he wasn't upset, but I know when Guy Joseph is upset.
Okay.
He was livid. And he's in the house, and I called afterwards. I felt bad, but I called. I said, "What could have, caused you to do that? What could somebody or what could have happened in the house that could have caused you to react that way?" And I was mad. I apologize, Mr. Joseph, because I was really upset.
All of UWP was happy, I can tell you that.
Well, but
but all of UWP is not the wife.
It didn't stop there, because what happened is when I went back and I saw the entire thing, I sat and I watched the entire proceeding, and then I understood why he would have done that, and then I was not so hard on him.
Okay.
I wasn't. But initially, yes, because I felt, and I told him that. He says no, but I felt that he had lost control. And I always tell him, he who angers you controls you.
Yeah.
You understand? And that is my motto. So I thought at the time that he had lost control.
I always loved him for that statement. I played it sometime about a week or 2 weeks ago. I always love it. I always love it. It made you feel proud of someone standing up to those gurus in the house, especially the speaker. Because the speaker was not having any of it, and he continued to say, "Listen to me, man. This is not your place. You just sitting up there. You're not one of. You're not."
Yes. And like you said,
I always love that.
I agreed with him after having seen the entire thing.
Yeah.
But what I saw, which was just a clip of him reacting.
Yeah.
Then I thought I was not happy about that. And the thing too is, and I go back to just Saint Lucia in general. The Bible tells you that when you listen to a man comes and he presents a story, any story that is presented seems plausible. It seems true.
Yeah.
Until you've heard the other side.
That is true.
Understand?
That is true.
Until you've heard the other side. And so I ask St. Lucians to be independent thinkers and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts.
Yeah.
Because that's what it appears in St. Lucia. Everyone seems to simply be reflecting the thoughts of others. We broke away from England. We're independent in our country, and we're also supposed to be independent in our thinking. And so you don't run with something because somebody said it, simply because maybe that person seemed to have a bit of influence. No. You go and you find out, you research, you listen to the news, and the news is not very credible.
No, the news is not the news.
I mean, Trump spoke about fake news. Listen,
oh my goodness.
There's a lot of that.
But
anyway, we are not reflectors of other men's thoughts. So let us, as St. Lucians, think, be wise before we open our mouths. Listen to both sides of the argument. And then you make an intelligent decision based on the information that you have. And not just, you say things just because...
Not baseless stuff.
Like, for example, I won't say who, but an older lady, she said something and I said, don't repeat things just because you heard it. She said, oh, but it came from the news. I said, no.
The news is not always right.
The news is not always credible.
No.
And so you have to use more than just that, your judgment when making decisions and when, believing what other persons are saying.
Salucia, bear with me with my voice because I've lost it over the last couple of days. Let me ask you, the love and appreciation, the caring that my brother here, Brother Guy Joseph, has had for his constituents, My goodness, has there ever one time he said, you know what, with these people, I'm really fed up? You have heard anything?
No. On the contrary,
yeah.
There was one time he said, if I make you my, what was it? Oh yes, if he makes me either his attaché or his campaign manager, he'd lose all his votes.
You serious?
Yes, that's what he said. Yeah. Because I was at the time. Listen, there's so much that one person can do, and what I also found out in St. Lucia is that it's never enough. It is never enough.
It is true,
and it's draining. You know, I am living it vicariously. He's the one living it. I'm living it vicariously, and I am tired and I get drained. But he it's like I see it, but he never has. When the people come in the morning, yes, they have to wait on him because he's not an early riser, but he goes faithfully every day. He finds what it is that he needs to give. And sometimes, based on the reaction of certain people, I, as an individual, would like to say certain things. But he's like, no. You cannot say that. You cannot do that. You know, these are my people, and I will try to see. I will go out and speak to him or her by myself. You know, because I would try to make the person understand. You know, to be reasonable. But I guess if we have not walked a mile in the person's shoes, we don't know what it is that they're going through. And Guy understands that. He understands that, so he's able to treat his constituents in a manner that is very compassionate, very compassionate, because you know
one of the amazing things is the minister or the rep lives in his own constituency, but never people come to the house because he's always going out there to the people. How many times you see constituents or people from the community coming to the house all the time? I mean, let's be honest. How often?
Well, they do come to the house. They do come to the house. Not as often as they did previously when he lived at another location in Forest here. But they do come to the house because a lot of them say, you know what, we go to the office and he's so busy, he doesn't keep a schedule. You know, things come up and he attends to it. And so sometimes it's difficult for them to get him in his office. And so they say, what? Well, you're at your home. We'll find you before before you leave your house.
And what is the reception like when he on a Sunday afternoon, probably taking a rest or watching maybe a movie, and you're like, "Hey, minister, Mr. Minister." What the expression? You have to be honest with us tonight. No, I'm asking, what is the expression like when that happens?
There's no expression. It's just like, okay.
A
lot of times, like I said, he's a late sleeper. So a lot of times I tell them, I say, "Sir, can you give him half an hour? He's not up yet." And they say, "Sure, because we're here to see him, we will wait." And they wait, and he comes. He goes downstairs, he speaks to all of them, and then he goes back. Or most times he would get ready first and then go and speak to them, because the thing is, if he goes out and he speaks to all the people outside, then by the time he comes to get dressed, it'll probably be 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. You know? And so he gets himself ready, then he goes to attend to every individual who's outside.
Wow.
You know, and that has been going on for many years. Many years.
How many times have you got up in the middle of the night and just leave you there and say, you know what, I'm going to talk to the guys, there's a flood, something's happening?
Oh yeah. The floods, the hurricanes. Yes. And I kept telling him that, oh, you leave me.
It comes with the job,
You leave me and you go and attend to the people. Your house is flooding. His house is always flooding.
Really?
Yes.
On the hill?
Yes.
Because you all have
a... tell the people your business, yes. His house is always flooding.
Because you all
it's leaking.
Yes.
Oh, it's leaking. Yes, it's always
leaking.
Okay, yes, that's right. Not flooding.
Not flooding. That's what I was saying.
Because where we live, the wind is extremely strong on the hill. And so when the wind comes with the water, it goes through above the door, under the window, between the window, I mean, just sometimes through the wall. And so every storm, I have to put towels on the floor. I have to be wringing towels. Yes, it's a mess.
So I'm
wringing towels by myself, and the brother is out there with other people.
Yeah.
So yes, it comes with the territory.
From the wife's standpoint, he's an all-around great guy, and I want to use the word great. You could say to St. Lucia and the world, this is a great gentleman, a great husband.
Yes, he is. He is human, and we all are. He's not perfect, but he is. I mean, I could not ask for better. I could not.
Wow.
It is said that I mean, I don't think I believe in the person, like your soulmate. I don't believe in a soulmate. I believe that you come together with somebody and you make it work through mutual understanding. And I think that is what we have. Like I said, we are not perfect. He can be very stubborn. Very. Yeah. Because unless you can show Guy Joseph, let me see how I put it. Unless you can prove something to him, he's not going to change his mind on what he's thinking.
Okay.
Yes. So now, as a teacher, I would love a student like that because you challenge me. I have to go do my research and bring it to you. Otherwise, the fact that you have in your head is the fact that's going to remain unless I can come up with the evidence to change what it is that you're thinking. So as a student, that is great. As a husband, not always very great.
Wow. So we want to talk about the educational background. How persuasive were you in him achieving his bachelor's and then going on to get his master's? Because you know, when you met him, he didn't have any of those of degrees. What were you directly the push for both of those diplomas? I mean, he did it, but were you the one that was very persuasive?
Yes. So I'm a firm believer in education. Firm believer in education. Hence the reason why I, despite the fact that I was not from a well-off family, that I tried, grabbed all of the opportunities that were available to me at the time and further myself as much as I could. With him, with Guy, I always said, listen, and he always said that he does not need the degree.
You did?
Yes, wow. He does not need the degree. I said, listen to me. I know that you're smart. You're street smart. You're intelligent. You can reason and all of that. But it's always good to have a paper to back up what it is that you think you know already.
Yeah.
And so we spoke about that back and forth for many years. And as soon as the opportunity presented itself. Now, before that, he did do a number of courses with, it was NRDF, right? NRDF and a couple others. So he did his accounting 1, 2, and 3 and a number of other things. Now, that is definitely not my area. I cannot help you with it. Yeah. But what I was a source of, so I read over papers, just the moral support. I did, again, he loves to not be careful with his grammar. So I was the person editing and telling and ensuring that when he presented his stuff that it was grammatically correct, etc. Right. But the reasoning and everything behind it, that was solely him, because I am not wired that way. Okay. I'm not wired that way. For me, I'm more into the social sciences as opposed to accounts and that sort of stuff. And so as I got into education and the opportunities presented themselves, I encouraged him, of course, and then he went into it. So it was Monroe that he started with. Yeah. So when Monroe came into St. Lucia, it was a blessing because he was not able to leave St. Lucia and go overseas for school. And Monroe was offering the program online. I think there were there 1 or 2 courses that you did
prior?
Face-to-face?
No, most of it was online. But,
most of it was
online. Some exams I had to go in to do.
Yes. And so, burning the midnight oil, I would sit there and wait, he's doing the assignments. And it's not one-sided, because while I was in school, listen, Skype came in handy. We didn't have WhatsApp yet. And so I would be there doing assignments, burning the midnight oil, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And he would be keeping me company, although he was a minister in St. Lucia. Okay. But he would be on Skype. I can see him sleeping. I can hear him snoring. Yes. But I'm there. I'm up in the U.S. Doing my work. And so as much as I was a support for him for his education, he was as much that for me. During my period of education.
So we got the bachelor's.
Yes.
Then how long after that we went into the master's? Because I know you wouldn't stop there. You would say, okay, the bachelor's. So first of all, the gentleman said, listen, I'm not interested in having any degree. But you persuaded him to get it. But that was not enough for you.
No, why stop? When the thing is, most St. Lucian young people, they don't have degrees and masters, not because they're dumb, not because they're not able to. it's because of opportunity.
Right.
That's all. If you would provide the opportunity for all of our St. Lucian young people,
I think
they
they'll
would
go
be
for it.
qualified.
I agree with that.
They would go for
I agree with that.
You know, so for me, I always tell people it was not because I had the money. It was because I was in the right place at the right time, and opportunities fell in my lap, and I grabbed it.
I understand.
So for him, when I did my master's, he would come over to the school all the time, and spend some time with me and that sort of stuff. And then while there, I said, but why don't you go ahead and do the master's? It's only 18 months, 18
months is a long time for...
yes, it's only 18 months.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do the master's. So he hesitated quite a bit, but then eventually he began the courses. And the thing is, the good thing for me, and that was rewarding, because a lot of the stuff that I heard him reading and that I was reading to him, because I had to be his reader many nights. So he's sitting there and I'm reading the textbook to him, and he would answer the questions.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that, because I'm not, again, like I said, I'm not a business person, that's not my field, but a lot of the stuff that I remember reading to him, when he goes to Parliament, I hear him talking about it. Okay. When he's on the radio, I hear him talking about it.
Feel good.
So yes, of course, naturally. Yeah. So there was a lot of transfer from the book from the theory to the practical, that he used in his work. And that's what I tried to tell him, is that yes, you know the stuff in your mind, you're able to do it, but there is a term for it. There is a term for what it is that you're doing. It was there already. You're not inventing it, and there's a particular way in which it is used. And so what his masters did was augment what it is that he had known already. What he had in his mind, the ideas, the theories. What it did was just provide him with a paper to show, hey, I know that stuff. I did it. And so I was very, very pleased.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah. So when you think for you, because the Honorable Guy Joseph, from my own observations, will continue to win the Castries South Bay seat. When does he come to the end of the road for you? Not him, for you.
I don't know if he wants me to say that. What is retirement age?
Well, Emma brought it to 65. Emma brought it to 65. It was 55. Emma took it up by 10 years.
If it is up to me, see, that's difficult, because you support somebody's aspirations and their dreams.
Yes.
And as long as he wants to be in there, as long as he feels that he has a contribution that he needs to make, as long as he has that energy that he has, because he's an energizer bunny. I thought my prime minister was an energizer bunny, but hey, Guy Joseph is an energizer bunny. As long as he still has that energy, and as long as he still feels that he has the ideas and the passion to make a contribution to St. Lucia, I will support him.
You will support?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will support him. If it were me and I had to, if I had the decision to make, I'd say otherwise.
Yeah.
But as long as he's able to, and he's in the right frame of mind, he is in good health and all, yes. Definitely.
I'm listening to you and I see the sincerity in your face, and I don't believe there's any dishonesty in what you just said. I think that the gentleman is an all-around great guy, and he's really loved by a lot of people, by almost all of his constituents. Great individual.
Before he says anything, before I forget that point, a lot of people ask me, well, I'll say a lot of people, a few people have asked me, how do you live with Guy Joseph?
On the basis of
how
what?
do you, because they see him in Parliament and they see him on the news and stuff, and he's always talking loud, and he's always
he has to talk loud.
Yes, and he's always up in the air and whatever.
Let your voice be heard.
Yes. And I said the persona that you see out there is not the Guy Joseph that lives at my house.
Oh boy. Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay.
A lot of times he is quiet. Well, I wouldn't say quiet. He doesn't say much. When he's with his group of friends, he will talk. But then to say, for me, I'm the social butterfly. So I go out and I talk and I'm with everybody and whatever. But he does not as much.
Yeah.
When it comes to disagreements, I think we're basically the same. If he's upset, he'll go quiet.
Okay.
Yes. you're not going to hear his voice. He'll go quiet.
So he'd do if he was one that drinks alcohol, he would do very well when he's drunk. Because there are guys when they get drunk, they go to bed. But there are some you don't want to be in the house.
So we don't quarrel. There's no raising of voices and that sort of stuff. I'm a talker. I like to talk, and unless I have ironed it out, you're not going to sleep.
Oh, really?
You know, because I don't. These.
So do you nag or you just talk about it?
Oh no, I don't nag. Do I nag?
Not at all.
No, I hate to think that I don't like naggers. So I'm hoping, and I don't think that I nag. No.
Well, we have 10:05, and Mr. Joseph, I'm so happy your wife, what your wife has just said about you.
Champagne, just before I go to this, there's something I should have done earlier. A special shout out to KCK Car Audio that's located in Tiroshi. That is burning. So
well, I do put cayenne pepper in.
Oh, is that right? That's why I should have some of that because I've lost my voice, boy, I tell you.
So I want to give a special shout out to Kevin and the crew up there. In fact, on Thursday night, we are doing a sound clash with the Flambeau songs. In the Tiroshi area, right next to the multipurpose court in Tiroshi. So we have the cars with stereo systems coming in to see who can play the best sound system for the Flambeau songs.
That promises to be good.
That we have. They call it the Burning Flames.
So who's going to be the judge of that? You?
No.
I don't think that would be a good idea. I don't think so.
No. Kevin himself he is a sound technician who would be involved in that, and we are using all the sound systems in our constituency. So I wanted to shout out all of them because it's amazing how the young people, especially, the level of investment that they have made into this, and I want to make it a quarterly event that will culminate at the end of the year with a major.
Now, you know, we continue to hear the Labour Party talk about youth development. But if we go back during the time the Labour Party were in government, I don't think we could identify anything the Labour Party put in place for the youth. Here we are, and from 2016 to 2021, you have studios that this government has already put in place, and not just one, several studios.
Mine is under construction.
We have 5 or 6 playing fields rehabilitated with beautiful surfaces. We have the Ojo Labs, young people. We have most of those call centers. I mean, it goes on and on. This administration have done so much for young people, but here you have the Labour Party continue to brag youth economy, and there's nothing you could point your finger at.
So Champagne, I always, you see, just like my Good Friday tape ball competition became like a national event
wildfire
on the calendar.
Yeah.
That is what I expect is going to happen with the sound systems, because young people make a lot of investments into these things, and then we kind of overlook it as not being important. So Thursday evening at 7 p.m. we would have that event right by the court in Tiroshi.
What is going to excite you, in the next term the most? From the top of your head, what is going to excite you? Housing?
Housing.
Okay.
Champagne, I have a drive to improve the housing in St. Lucia. I want to move away from these plywood structures.
Yes, let me ring the bell on that, my goodness. Yes.
And I did not take the photo of the new frame for the sample houses that we have from Dubai. Now, I support the frame 100%, but I'm not very happy with the exterior material.
Okay.
Because I guess because of the climate that they are in. But The framing does not use any wood. It uses this galvanized steel which does not rust.
Okay.
And the strength of these houses, and you're going to have no termite infestation or rotting or anything. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I want to go back to, and so people can rest assured. The other thing I plan to do in my constituency is to build a couple of community swimming pools.
Okay. Yes.
The reason for this is because now you have a lot of activities, and the type of activities that young people are getting to is so you don't have the rivers to go to. A lot of times people cannot go to the beach. You have the challenge with the sargassum, seaweed, and all of that.
And the hurricane season and all that.
The hurricane season. So I believe a few community pools would do us very well. Being one of the few constituencies that have no boundaries with the sea.
With the sea, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to the discussions, in politics, people try to demonize you, and they try to make you look like you're not human, and it's amazing that people speak about you as if they know you, and they've never even interacted with you to have a basic idea of who you are.
Yeah, true.
Wendy is here with me tonight. We don't have to discuss beforehand what we're going to speak about on a program like this.
There's no script.
Because the relationship that we have, the way we relate to each other, anything that you have to act, I cannot do it. I don't have the time to come and lie about things. And that's why when I hear some of the things that are spreading out there, and I'll give you an example. I heard an interview about a gentleman who was employed in the ministry, and I was, as if the gentleman was an employee of the ministry before I met him. The gentleman was already employed at the ministry before he began to head any project in the ministry. He was already employed by the ministry. And by the same people who are complaining were the ones who had employed him. So, I mean, you hear these things, and as I've said, and Wendy understands that best, people want you to say yes when you really mean no. Now, nobody can get me to do that. If I don't agree with something, I'm not going with the flow because other people agree to it. If that's my lot, then I will carry it. At the end of the day, I don't have a make-believe relationship. You see my constituents. You see when I went around yesterday, Champagne, as I drove around the constituency, I saw the energy. I saw the joy. I saw the flambeaux, not just in Castries Southeast.
No.
When I passed through the valley, when I got to Dennery, the people who are by the road, when I got to Mikud, I think Mikud has the largest crowd.
Out on the road sides.
That's on the East Coast, because I didn't get the chance to go through the West Coast. And I look at all of these people, and Wendy can tell you, some of these people, when they saw me, the level of excitement.
Oh yeah, always. Always. Always.
You know what, Champagne?
Always.
I don't take that for granted. And that is why I guard jealously my conduct and my behavior in government. I get all the accusations, but I want to assure these people, by God's grace, that I will never do things to embarrass them.
Yes, you have said
when
that.
it comes to integrity, because we are human beings, we will make mistakes. There are things we will do.
Yes.
That upon reflection you'd say, boy, I could have done that differently. But I didn't come into politics. I didn't fight to get into politics, you know. I didn't go and... The politics came to me. I kept on refusing and refusing and refusing. And I've always said, watch the people who are pushing themselves to... If you see people trying to push themselves on you, be careful.
Yeah, there's a reason.
There is a reason. It's not necessarily because they want what is best for you. And I've watched it in the politics. I'm not afraid to tell the people, if you're not satisfied with what I've done, then you can vote against me.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Because at the end of the day, nobody can do everything that everybody wants. But I know that no one has done more than I have done in my constituency, because that's where I've always lived. I'm talking about living in the community. She's from Babono, I am from Forestier. When we met, and maybe she didn't tell you that, she was closer to my niece's, I mean, close family friend, close associate. So we were friends before she became my wife.
Long before.
Long before?
Yes.
So we discussed things. We spoke about things in general. And the first reaction was, I'm not coming and live in forest here.
Really?
I said, well, understand one thing. I live in forest here. No. Not I not going and live Babon.
You're not living forest.
I'm not living forest here and go and live anywhere else. There are a number of reasons why I love the community. I love where I live on the hill. I love the atmosphere, the coolness of the place. I mean, there are so many things that I love about the place.
I mean, who wouldn't love to see Mount Jimmy every morning you get up? Right there in your face.
And I can see almost my entire constituency from where I am. You know, for the Labour Party to go around and say that I don't live, it's the lies that they say. I mean, lies that don't even make sense.
How much does it offend you, Mr. Minister? I know, let me ask you, how much does it offend you? Because the Labour Party, our Prime Minister, they say all kinds of things. From 2013, he has never responded, but yet they continue to attack. The Labour Party are like a pack of hyenas. You know the hyenas, they're the only ones that are not afraid of the lions. The lions would have all that killed there, but the hyenas would still attack. These are the Labour Party. I'm not leveling them as animals. I'm just telling you, I'm just giving an example. How much does it offend you when these people bring these things, because they make these things up? And if you say it does offend you, you just start to hear things.
No. You know, the sad part of it for me is that I know that I have been honest in all of my dealings in government. The biggest challenge is you get accused of so many things that the temptation can be, you've already paid the price for doing it. Why not do it?
Yeah.
And I believe that that's the way the devil works, to get us to do things that we did not want to do.
Yeah.
So I always have to guard myself against that.
Champagne, if he ever does it, he doesn't have a wife.
I believe that.
That's
I believe that. Yeah.
But beyond that, and that's what I say, the people you associate with, they influence your life in a certain way. So the value system that Wendy has, if I And not just Wendy. I have other brothers and sisters who they hold very high standards for me. And I've always, and you see my constituents, which includes my immediate family, Champagne, nobody in government or after I leave government will be able to come with a shred of evidence to show that guy deliberately did something in government to make a bubble, to do this, to do that, to do the other. That's not my style. I'm not even tempted to make a bubble. I'm not, I mean, it doesn't even cross my mind to say, okay, what can you do in this thing to make some money? It doesn't cross my mind. Business people in St. Lucia, they know.
So what do you think
I don't come and face any one of them. I cannot ask people for money. When I was on the program with you on Friday, I spoke about that.
Yes,
Champagne.
you did. Yes, you did.
I cannot ask. Look, Wendy is there every day. I tell, don't ask people if they want food. Just give them the food. Because if you ask me for food, even though I'm hungry, I will tell you no. So the Labour Party knows that, you know. I am telling you, based on the investigations that the Labour Party, based on what they have investigated, they know. Because I said it to Philip J. Pierre one time. When he said, you sucker, I know you did things, but we can't find it. Upstairs in the parliament, at that time the lounge used to be above the section of the parliament. Now we're in the downstairs. I tell you, and that was just when the linguist report came out. The first draft copy they got at Slasper. Because I knew the meeting had taken place, and I knew that they got nothing. And they were upset that they had spent all of that money and they couldn't get. And all during that time, because I knew the investigations were going on, and I kept on, I lived my life normal. I was never worried about what they would find out. Even today, I am never worried about what they'll find out because I have not done anything. This thing they talk about, the letter. The letters I have written, all the years I've been in government, have been in keeping with what my responsibilities are in government. And I don't commit, I am too cautious about money to commit the government or myself to anything that is not above board. And people come to me, they ask me to do things, I tell them, no, I'm not going to do that. Every staff that I work with, every permanent secretary, every head of department, I tell them, if I ask you to do anything that is not in keeping with what ought to be, do not be afraid to say, Minister, what you ask me there cannot be done. And if I ever ask you to do anything that is illegal, don't do it. I try to be, because when I made my decision to come into government, I decided that I would come and be different. And my family knows that. And as much as my family knows that, we've discussed it, so I know the devil knows that too. He knows that I want to make a difference. Because I don't want to even mention the people that I know of, the people that I read of in the Bible and what they stood for, because I feel that I am so far from these people and the value systems and what they did. But I always said, if God was so good to me, why would I come in at this stage in my life? When we were poor and we had nothing, I was not tempted to steal. I was not tempted to be dishonest. When I went to school, I could not cheat. I could not cheat on an exam. I could not go and pick a mango from somebody's tree because I always felt somebody would see me and tell me, what you doing there? Mm-hmm. That is how I have operated. That's how I have lived. You think is today, with all the blessings that I have enjoyed, and I had things before I came into government. I was making a comfortable living before I came into government. Today I will give up my freedom to be able to make a bubble in government. For what? I will give up my family, so I'll give up Wendy to be able to say, for what? How much money can you spend? How many vehicles you need to drive?
Yeah, exactly.
How many houses you need to live
in one at a time.
So when you die and you leave all of these things, so people have to understand the value system that some of us have. And I know that the Labour Party knows better. But what else can they do but attack Guy Joseph? And when they cannot attack me by myself, now, Prime Minister Alan Shasney is a man of great integrity. So what they try to do now is to label him using me to say, I am the one. So you hear them, oh, is he that's Prime Minister? Is he that's doing this? Is he that's doing that? Tell me what is different with me in government today from what I did in 2006 to 2011. So when Bexon floods, or when the Badlil, the slide went down in the Badlil, and I've heard a lot of talk about that, I did not go to the Badlil. First, I was informed. I was called by an engineer in the ministry who tell me, we want to see you in the Badlil. I drove up there. I saw what was happening in the Badlil. They tell me they have to close the road immediately. I said, you cannot close that road. If you close that road, do you know what it is? All children have gone to school. People are traveling back and forth. I said, we need to find a way to keep the road open. And if you look at my interview was as the Minister of Transport. I was told, well, the damage was done in your constituency. Can you recommend a contractor who can begin the work immediately? I recommended a contractor. I picked up the phone and I called my colleague minister to inform him that I had been approached. And I'm sure that the phone record can show that I called. I called more than once and I eventually got through. And I gave a full update of what had transpired. I hear all kinds of rumors about this and about that. Champagne. I don't have time for that. You see me? The people elected me to work for them. And that is what I do morning, noon, and night. I work on behalf of the people who elected me.
That's right.
I don't want to go home with a salary and I don't have nothing to show in terms of my achievements or my accomplishments. Now, that's why I have said to Philip JP and Kenny Anthony, y'all have been paid salaries by the people of St. Lucia for months. 50 years between the two of you.
That's
25 years. Show the work in your constituency that y'all have done for the salaries that y'all have been paid for. Now, you know why I believe my money is blessed? Because an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. That is how I operate. And the people of Castries Southeast knows that. They don't have to second guess my representation because they can see it. Even the Labour Party operatives say, even though we say things about Guy, we cannot fault him on his work in his constituency. That's what we were elected to do. And that's why I am asking the people again, not just to elect me, but to elect the United Workers' Party on that basis.
That's right.
Because I could not do the work had it not been for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister and Minister of Finance is the one who make resources available. Champagne. I was in the forefront of negotiating the money from the Taiwanese for the road projects in my constituency and throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. I submitted 7 roads to be done in Castries Southeast through the Taiwanese funded project. You know, as we sit here today, no roads were done under the Taiwanese funded project in Castries Southeast, the second largest constituency geographically and the second largest population-wise.
What happened to the projects?
All of my roads was taken off the list.
Your roads were taken off?
Yes. So let me give you, Nationwide had offered to do Fromage Road for me under design finance construct before we had finalized the negotiations with the Taiwanese for the money. Not only was I in Taiwan in doing some of the negotiations, I was also at the meeting in the US negotiating for these funds. As we speak today, and everybody can go and see the record, I have all the letters of all of the roads from my constituency that was to be done under the Taiwanese funded project. So when people say Fresh Start did roads in your constituency, you know how Fresh Start ended up doing roads in my constituency? Because under the design finance construct project, that's the only way, because I did. So what happened was, because Charles or Nationwide had offered to do the Fromage Road for me, and it took almost 2 years before that happened. When the project came out, the project was fitted under the Taiwanese funded project along with another road in another constituency, which I will choose not to mention tonight. So the two were approved together. So out of the $150+ million of roads for the constituents for St. Lucia, I got one road of about $900,000, and I got it by, I would say, almost accidentally. Today the Mac Road is under construction. You know how I got the Mac Road under construction? I had to go, Minister Estefan had negotiated for some road projects in his constituency. That CIE, that's Renault, was constructing. I spoke to my colleague minister and I said, man, you can't have all of these things and I'm suffering so much for a road in my area. Can you, and as a good colleague minister, and I have to big up ST, because Dennery has been transformed by the representation of Minister Edmond Estefan. And so I got part of the allocation to do the Mac Road, which is under construction as we speak today. So these are the things that happened. Nationwide is supposed to be doing my road from Lacroix back to Odsa. All of my projects have not been implemented. I don't go about and murmur and complain. The people know that I am working and that these contracts have been signed and the works will be executed because the UWP is going to be re-elected into government.
Of course, without
to continue all of these works that we have started. So all of the areas in Castries South, there are roads to be done. There are still roads in Dennery South to be done. I know there are roads in Soufrière that needs to be done. There are roads in Micoud that is incomplete as we speak. So there is much to be done still. We've established a good foundation on which to build, and we will continue to build on that solid foundation.
Would you say you have done more projects in this term as opposed to 2006 to 2011?
Oh yes, by far,
right?
By far. In fact, Champagne, next Monday, which may be my last program, I would think, before elections,
it would be.
I will quantify in monetary terms the projects that have been implemented in Castries Southeast.
All of it.
And the value. I don't think I'll remember all of it. But as many of them as I can remember, and I don't think that any other period of time would have seen a greater level of expenditure. And I've said that, not just for my constituency, for all the constituencies. And why was this possible? Because we have a prime minister and a minister of finance who does not look for excuses but finds ways to make things happen for St. Lucia and for the people of St. Lucia.
You did a lot of work from 2006, I will tell you that, a lot of concrete roads and everything. Before, let's go general, national. Before we open the lines, are we taking any calls or no?
We'll take a few calls.
Yeah, it's 25 to 11, up to 11. Give us a little update on St. Jude's. What's going on with it? So now we know it's going to open in the next term. So give us an update on what's happening.
I will dedicate the time. I have to come with some photos and some stuff that I will do next week, Monday. I will present a full report on where we are, what is to be done, and the timelines that we have for what is to be done. And I know, and I'm happy you said that. The expectations are high. I am disappointed that we've not been able to move into St. Jude. So I'm not the kind of people who come and make excuses about everything. I was really expecting that we would have been able to move into St. Jude a lot sooner than now. For me, it has passed the time that we should have been there.
Yeah, but we lost a year and a quarter.
Yes, but even with losing a year and a quarter, because we hold ourselves to high standards, I am disappointed that we are not in there yet. But I know we are not far from there either. There's still, if I tell you, for example, an electrical panel that is needed takes you about 6 months to be, because these things have to be pre-ordered and manufactured. And until you got the full electrical plan, and that is what people, a lot of people look at things and just think that you can just go. A hospital is not a house. You don't just put down the amount of background work that, because remember, we inherited a St. Jude without a plan. We had to design a plan, prepare the site, build a brand new hospital. And remember, we took almost 3 years trying to save what was built originally. We brought different experts from different fields, different parts of the world to try and see what was possible that we could make it work. All of that was being done with the intention of saving the facility and keeping it intact to be used. Eventually, and I have to give that to the PM, from very early in the game, PM said, you see this thing? I think we should just go ahead and build a facility. Because for you to go and do as-built drawings and designs, and everybody we had interviewed who had worked on that project, it was a nightmare. Some of the walls we broke, and you see the old urinal pipes and everything.
Pipes and tiles
I
and
mean,
everything.
You put casting over tiles. I mean, every kind of... These are the atrocities that was committed by the Labour Party. That is what they were giving the people of Beaufort. You saw that big steel beam going across the dialysis area with the wall incomplete and one bolt.
One bolt holding it.
And then you go and put solar panels on top of that. And if one day while dialysis is going on, you get a little earthquake, a little shake, and this whole thing collapses on the people inside there. You know what they would turn around and say? Guy kite minister, le SI pate wesa pou wanje.
That's what it would be said.
Because you see, that's why they say hindsight is 2020. So, knowing all of that, being privy to all of the information, how can any right-thinking government, for people to say, for you to be able to say, I finish what Labour could not finish, and you know it's not good, I'd rather not be in government
you said that.
than to finish something that is not good just to prove a point that I am better than another person. That's not what makes us better than other people. Doing the right thing when others do the wrong thing is what makes us better persons.
The St. Jude of the Labour Party were cottages. You know, like those little hotel cottages.
25 buildings made of the St. Jude.
Can you believe it? Total waste of money. All right, so we have 20 minutes to 11. We are going up until 11, as the minister indicated. So we will be taking your calls, 4560931, and we do have a call. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mr.
How are you doing, sir?
Your wife and Champagne.
He said good evening to you and your wife.
Good evening.
You're a little low caller. Anyway, we'll have to use our headset.
Mr. Guy, I have two questions to ask you.
You go there?
You just concluded with about St. Jude's. I saw on the clip tonight where Kenny Anthony was saying that you told the people of St. Lucia, if that hospital is not finished before election, don't vote for you. I would like to know if you made that statement.
Yes, I made that statement. And when I made that statement, we did not know there was COVID.
Exactly.
COVID was nowhere. We were just looking at going into normal construction of a facility.
Understood that, but what you're telling me, if no COVID was around, we should have been in the hospital by now.
Yes.
We would have finished the hospital. There's no question. I mean, even sourcing out material is still a problem as we speak today.
I agree. I understood. The next question is, if the U.S., I heard on UHS Frederick telling how you cannot go to the U.S., you cannot do this, you cannot do that. If the U.S. have a seal deal or seal whatever it is with your name there, how could it be that Richard Frederick know about that? Because the U.S., when they're doing their business, they have nobody to relay anything to. They just go in about their business and do what they have to do. How Richard Frederick have your name saying how the U.S. is waiting for you?
So he doesn't know why they took his visa, but he know what they have on me.
Up to this present moment, he cannot say why they took his visa from him. But he said you cannot put a foot in America. They're waiting for you.
I've given him my date already.
How can he know that?
I told them win, lose, or draw in the election, I'm going to the US in August.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, whatever they want to think, they can think. You see, all of a sudden, Richard has become the credible source of information for the Labour Party. But go back to the historical statements made between himself and the Labour Party. And that's why I tell you, people who are not consistent, they say one thing and they do something else. I believe a simple explanation is owed to the people of St. Lucia. He knows everybody's business. You think he don't know why they took his visa? You really think he doesn't know? So why is he not saying? Is it that he knows what he did? Because I can say what it is, because I know I don't know why they took his visa. But I want to believe that he knows why they took it, because at least he had a lawyer working on it. And he said, and I know what he said to the cabinet. He said, give him 2 weeks. When he was asked to resign as a minister, he said, give him 2 weeks or 2 months, and he will sort out his thing, and he will have his visa back. So I figured out he knew what it was. Afterwards, he employed a U.S. lawyer to try and help him get back his visa.
Yeah.
Get back visa.
And he said that they were going to sue the U.S. government $25 million.
I don't know. I just listen to
and you believe it?
Hear what the lies.
The U.S. government, he said he was going to sue.
Yeah.
All right, Colin.
Anyway, I have every confidence in us winning the election.
Thank you, Colin.
Shout. The handwriting is writing on the wall.
Every day.
We're going to win that election.
Convincingly, Colin. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Thank
you.
you.
I'm wishing you all the best. And Philip Joppe was in Cabbage last night.
Thank you, Colin.
Bye-bye.
You know, when you hear about Kenny Anthony talking about... let's take a call. Yeah. Hello, good evening. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, good night, champion.
Good night, sir.
Good night to you, Mr. Minister, and your wife.
Good night.
I want to say I have never seen that before in my life. Oh, that was so amazing. I was not at the motorcade, but I watched it on television, and it was great. Yes, it was great. That proves that there is no doubt that the victory is sealed. We have the victory.
Yeah, but now, we still need to go out and vote.
I want to say a little something, champion, concerning my rep.
Yeah.
He knows who is speaking. Okay? We raised together in the community. Okay? And this man I know that I raised with, he's always somebody that when things is happening that he likes to get involved, to see that it happens and see that it happens the right way. Okay, now there's one thing I want to say. You see all the oppositions that are accusing him of this and that and the other. I want to ask one of them. There is, and I can bet my money on that, champion. There is not one of them that can do farming more better than him, which I know, because in our young days, champion, we go in the river, we go in and take our dry coconut. We don't have cutlass. We breaking it with stones, our ripe banana.
Yeah.
Take the cocoa in the tree, suck it, and play all them things. Go and catch crayfish. We don't have pan. We cooking it in the milk tin, then cow, nido and those things. Take our bottle and our thing and play. Okay?
Yeah.
When the playing field, that where just below he lives, was dirty, we would come together and clean it and collect the bush and let it dry. And when it get dry, when the moon is out, like full moon, we would go and burn that bush, and in the midst of the smoke, play. And sometimes all 8, 9 o'clock, we would go more than 2 miles away from the field in the river and bathe and come back home.
Yeah.
Okay? And I know, being at his home, we used to go there at nights, play dominoes, eat, When he comes from work with his bus, sometimes he would bring food, bring juice, give us, stay there, play with us, laugh, jokes, and all that time. All that. Okay? So, like his wife said, when you don't know somebody, you will paint any picture about them.
Yeah.
Okay? But like elderly people tell you, yes. At the end of the day, Champagne, you know what matters is what God thinks of you, my brother.
Amen.
Okay, because at the end of the day, He is the one that is going to judge us all.
Amen to that.
All right? And He sees and knows and He understands all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So I know this man, I know him from a child. And I know that all the accusations that have been said and leveled about him, even in the political field, I know he is not somebody that is easily intimidated. I know that about him.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
And he's a genuine man. And I can say to you, Mr. Minister, you don't have a shadow of a doubt that your seat and your victory is already sealed.
Thank you.
And God continue to bless you all. And I thank you so much for representing us. We have the best rep in you. Yes. Champagne, and
thank
you, my brother.
Yes, my brother.
Continue to do the good job that you're doing, and God continue to bless you.
Amen to you. All right. God bless you as well. Hello, good evening, good night. Oh, sorry.
Good night, Mr. Champagne.
Good night to you.
Minister and your lovely wife.
Good night.
Okay. I said good night to Minister and his lovely wife.
Yeah, they heard you. They responded. They said good night.
Okay. I just called to say I'm not from his constituency. I'm from Ziga Mikuda. And I'm telling you, boy, oh, Mr. Minister, don't worry for nobody. Let me tell you something. I hear Mr. Champagne saying we don't have no change to give. After we do not have change to give, if they demand they want change, I can give them change, you know. I give them 1 cent and 2 cents. That's what they deserve. 1 cent and 2 cents because...
But you don't have to give them much, maybe just 1 and a penny, 3 cents.
Yeah, they can do nothing with that. So, Minister, don't worry. We got them all the way 17 knots.
Yes.
They can jump high, they can jump low, and they have something saying, guy must, Shasne must go. Of course, Shasne must go, not owner, because some of them say under, but what they don't know is on top.
On top.
Yes. On top.
Yes,
and
yes.
that is what that burning what they saw yesterday. I'm telling you, a lot of them going mad because I am surrounded by SLPs alone. I'm the only UWP in my country.
Wow.
And they, you know how they call me? Jackass, Sheflabo.
Yeah, that's the insults. That's the way they are.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I
stay strong.
in my house for them, Sheflabo, and ini Shasne, big and bold, tutale Kylie, sticker, Sheflabo. What I more Sheflabo. A man, a Pearson. Keep on doing what you do in my Prime Minister. And we will see. They have 17. We taking that 17 note. They don't have nothing.
Yes.
They have nothing to give them.
I believe that, and I agree. Thank you. All right. You wanted to say something, Miss Wendy?
We can go ahead.
You sure? Yeah. All right. Hello. Good evening. Hello. Good night.
Good evening. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Joseph.
Now, you know the throat is not too good like mine, so I give you 2 minutes. Hello? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm there. All the people that have been accusing Mr. Joseph, none of them cannot do the amount of work that he has.
That is true, Colin. It's true.
Not one. Not one. From the Richard Fredericks to the Kenny Anthonys, apart from Stephenson King, none of them cannot do what he did.
Hello?
As far as I see it. So, Mr. Joseph, keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we're going to take you to the promised land.
Amen.
Don't worry.
All right.
Thank you.
Boy, everybody seemed to lose their voice yesterday. Could you imagine the victory lap, what it's going to be like? Hello, good evening, good night, hello.
Hello.
Good night.
Good night. Champion.
Oui.
What Philippe J.P. say to tonight?
What he said? I don't know. I was not listening tonight. I've been here.
No, I'm telling you. I was listening to the news on Choice News.
Yeah. What?
When I was tuning to Sky FM. Yeah, Choice News. I have Philippe J.P. voice. So I leave my radio here to hear what was saying. He say, Lara. You know who's Lara?
Oh yeah, that was said a few days ago.
Yeah, they call the man Lara, and they speak up the man.
I thought it was something new.
And he say Morella Joseph. Come and meet them, and King, come and join them.
Yeah.
They talk about that. They still, somebody asked him the question, he said that again. So how you can say he don't say that?
Yeah, what he didn't say is all of those 3 people could not win an election. He should have remembered that.
But they mad. The Mocho Loco Poto. They finish.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, power struggle. If they, you see how the hurricane passed, they throw the banana. It's the same way we passing on them.
Okay.
Flat down.
All right, my friend.
If they rise again, I don't know. But it's just like Moka put train on them this time.
Kila ukai vote.
No, they I vote someone Bushman.
No, Babesa. Babesa, they let you can face your vote.
No, my money must money.
All right, Evan. Merci.
Mr. Joseph, have a blessed night.
Okay.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Champagne.
Oui. So we're going to take what? 2 more, 3 more. Hello, good evening. Good night.
Hi, good night,
good night,
Champagne.
good night to you.
Good night, Mr. Minister. Good night, Miss Wendy.
Good night.
But I want to call in to support Wendy in the house tonight.
Hometown girl.
I must say, great program though. But I was just listening to you guys, and I noticed one thing. Well, that is just based on my observation. Richard Frederick did what he did in government. He killed his political career. So he has been on the attack and has been attacking guys on social media. Eubalus Raymond fired himself, yet still he's looking to blame someone. So right now, they've taken Stevenson King because these 2 has failed, and now they also want King to fail. While we're not dwelling on this, I must say that one needs to understand that all of this negativity that these people is putting out there in the media, and they know for sure Honorable Guy will not stand for it. They will not like him when he comes out and he speaks the truth. So they will try so hard to get the negativity and twist things around and to try to call Guy volley and corruption. But one thing I understand from following politics, that the corruption happens when they get into office.
Always.
Because you know what they're going to tell the people of St. Lucia? That if they were to be there, which I know they will never sit, just as of yesterday's statement that was sent, that they would tell the people they don't have no money to do anything. So I'm going to let them know on this program tonight that the corruption will not happen. We will not give these people a chance. There's nothing about a chance. It's not a game we're playing. That this United Workers Party with men like Guy and Alan Chasney will stay there to pay their bill and would refine and reform the Constitution to govern St. Lucia. And I must say, Guy, you're a very great minister, and I know you have a lot of influence and a lot of young people out there. We look forward to hearing you speak. We look forward to hear you coming out with the truth. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. They're always trying to label you, and I know you're not perturbed about it. You're not disturbed. You don't even really want to answer, but sometimes, you know, we need to know what is being said. We need to know what is right from wrong. And you're always willing, like your wife said, you're always willing to get the questions, get to know the facts, and you come out and educate us. And we just want to applaud you because you have a lot of people listening to you. All of the men that want to make people, make them who they are not leaders. And I just mentioned 3 tonight. And they actually are the ones in the media encouraging and rallying with each other to make each other feel. And like your wife said, she would question you. But then what you've decided to do, you will give her reasons why you should do it. But we have failed politicians who refuse to think for themselves. And this is what I really admire about you. You stand firm. Some people would say is, like you have a bunch of persons, because you're the loud person that they want to put you on the side. No, it's not just because you're loud. It's not because you're able to vet. Not because you're able to speak out. That means that you mean wrong. It's just that you're trying to get your point across. And we really appreciate that from you. And we just want you to keep on doing the great work.
Amen.
We know Babu know for sure is a definite seat. We could not even reach Beaufort because there were just too many people Babu were trying to reach Beaufort. So I must say we are doing a great job. Let's just keep working and remain focused.
Amen. Thank you, Colin. Thank you.
Great program.
Have a good night. I mean, when you have a man like Dr. Anthony in 25 years, could not build a resource center for the people of Beaufort, have the nerve to come on TV and talk about somebody that is working. We're doing our final call. Hello, good evening. You are our final caller. Hello?
Good evening.
Good night, sir.
Good evening to the minister and his beautiful wife.
Good evening to the minister and his beautiful wife.
Good night.
I just want to say Mr. Joseph is one of those ministers that I really admire because he is like a, you know, when you go to a children's party, they have what you call that thing now where they have to beat it and all the sweets come out.
Oh, yes.
A pit something. So, you know, you beat the thing and then the sweets come out. So let them beat it. The sweets will continue to come out. But do something to minister. Don't worry if what the other guy was saying. I'm sorry, no pun intended. The other fellow now saying that you take over his ministry. But if you sit there and you ain't doing nothing, you have to take
Somebody
over
have to do it.
You have to take over the work and
I agree. Somebody have to do it.
Don't worry about them. And anyway, I call to support you in your quest for re-election, but I also call to ask the public to, you know, give the new lady, Mrs. McIntyre, a vote, you know, because we don't want to see the confused people in the, you know, in the blue shirts getting any votes, because we don't know if there is Labour, we don't know if there is UWP, we don't even know if there is the blue. So why should we take that risk?
Yeah.
You know? So let us go out there and elect a United Workers Party who has a vision, who understands how things work, right, and how money filters through the economy to keep our people employed. So let us do that. All right, so congratulations, Mr. Minister. I'm not worried for you. And keep up the good work and don't worry about them. Okay?
Thank you, caller. Now we have 2 minutes up. Mr. Minister, can I ask you one question? You're not obliged to answer it.
Before you ask the question, you heard what the caller said about blue.
Yes. Blue turned to red.
No, so champagne. You know how long ago I said, I don't understand how the blueprint for growth could be red.
Yeah.
You see how the blue turned to red?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
In Castries, no?
Yes, sir.
So that's what I tell people. Life has a way. They say water always finds its level. And in the coming weeks and months and years, I may not be around. But a lot of things would be revealed. There are many business people today who gave money for campaign under the banner of UWP, and now these monies are being used otherwise. If people have integrity, and if they are as patriotic as they say, you know what they do? They return the money. And then they say,
I'm patriot.
Give it back to me now as this. Because there are things that have happened. There was time. You don't get to the end of the rope before the end of the rope.
Say that again. You
don't get to the end of the rope before the end of the rope.
That is right, because the end of the rope is always there, and you have to get there.
Yes.
That's right.
So, if the rope end, is not you that got to the end of the rope.
Yeah.
It's the rope that ended. So, all of a sudden you get to the end of the rope. But the rope ended. Our term in office ended. 5 years.
Yes.
In fact, today is the 12th.
Yeah.
It's officially.
That's right.
The 5 years. 5 years.
From the first sitting of the House, it has ended.
The first sitting of the House.
Yes.
Which was the 12th of July 2016. It's the 12th of July 2021. But I've said, I know I will continue to be a target. I know the Labour Party will continue to attack me. And I know people who don't want to take responsibilities for their own actions always try to find a way to blame other people. I'm not the kind of person who blame other people for what happened to me. I take responsibility for my actions. And I've said it, there's too much to be dealt with now to waste time and talk about other people. I want to wish Miss Janine Giroud all the best.
Yes, we have to ring the bell on that.
God has his own way of working things out, Champion.
Yeah, definitely.
Every one of us.
Yes, sir.
We say one thing, we do something else, but the truth always comes out eventually.
Yep, all the time.
Look at how the truth of what happened came out so easily that the member for Castries North actually joined the Labour Party.
Yes, he has.
And Pierre misspoke.
Pierre didn't misspeak.
How, if there was no discussion, because listen, you can say something that is out of tune, but did Pierre invent that? Now here's the bigger problem that we have there. Pierre has to be losing his mind for you to just go and say, because listen, you said Von Lewis
Morella Joseph
join. These were this, and I want Philip J. Pierre to come and say that is not what you said. You said free leaders of the UWP have left UWP and come on your side because the substance of government is on your side.
Right.
That is what you said.
That was his exact words.
And you went ahead to explain who are the free leaders. Von Lewis,
former Prime Minister, that's what he said.
Morella Joseph, former leader of the UWP,
Joseph,
and Stevenson King has joined us. That, so, se we ve salo de kadomi.
He repeated it.
And for emphasis, to make the point, you repeated. Now, if you did not repeat it in the statement and is a replay of the video, then come and say you did not repeat it. How can it be that a man who is vying to be prime minister of a country would make a mistake like this?
He's only a lunatic who do that. And I don't think he is.
So, si lan plis pase, because mwen sav lan moun ki ka fou an Labour Party ya, me si lan ni plis pase yon ki ka fou, then yo suppose decently siye sa. So, to look at that particular situation, and to be able to say, that it means that some discussions were taking place. And if discussions were not taking place, why didn't Labour Party send a candidate? So blue becomes red. Blueprint for growth is in red. So even though you see them presenting blue, they are really red. That is what it is. And I know the flambeaux, because the flambeaux in Castries Southeast don't belong to Guy Joseph. Flambeau was there before me, and flambeau will be there after me. And nobody has more value than the symbol and the brand of the United Workers' Party.
That's what it is.
None of us as politicians. Sir John, who was the founding member, one of the founding members of the United Workers' Party, is no more. But the United Workers' Party is still there.
That's right. We need to
and when all of us who are there today, when all of us are gone, I believe that the United Workers' Party will still be there.
Means we don't own it.
So those who think that they own flambeaux, we are in for a surprise. I still believe that the United Workers' Party will win.
Of course.
The Castries North seat.
Of course.
More will be said as we go along, but I want to let the people of St. Lucia know I'm not a coward. And if they will come and continue to say the lies, because the first set of things that I heard is a lie. Now, moun ki ni labitil ka mati, kay kontine mati. And look at the people who are defending. Look at their track record of trying to defend. So, they feel they can attack me. I have broad shoulders, not physically, but I'm much more solid than they think that I am. And my strength is not just with me. My strength is with the 5,000 UWP votes in Castries Southeast that we are going to pull up in this election.
That's right.
I really thank my wife, Wendy, for being here with me. I know she's not feeling the best tonight.
Yeah, we live in it's just 10 minutes after 11.
It's been, we've had a few long days and nights, but as much as I love what I do, she's a source of strength and encouragement. And you know, when I go home, Champagne, after a long, hard day, she does not nag. She does not complain.
That's a good wife.
I go into a very peaceful and happy atmosphere. So when I go to bed and I wake up next morning, it's not, I don't struggle and twist and turn and toil during the night, because you know you've had a long hard day at work and you come home and you're in an unhappy environment.
Yeah, that's not good.
My home is one of the happiest places for me. Two places I love to be. Love to be home, and I love to be at church. These are my top priorities. And she can tell you, every time there's church service and I can attend, I attend.
Yeah. You remember about 2 or 3 years ago, I came to your office and I was talking about something that excuse me, happened to me, and I got very emotional. Now, as this thing has happened, I understood why that had happened. You remember that time? So every flambeau, recognized flambeau, that went to that ministry would not be helped or accepted, and we are only knowing now. I got very emotional because I could not understand the circumstance behind it.
And the treatment
and
that
the
you
treatment.
received. And we had the
now, and we had a long, and today when what happened last week, it only brought out the truth from all what had happened 3 years ago. Yeah, I only understood it then.
People of Castries Southeast, we are doing a whistle stop tomorrow night and Wednesday night in the constituency. So we will not announce beforehand which community we are coming to because we don't want big crowds to assemble as such. We want people from the comfort of their homes and close proximity to just say, and that's more a formality for us, because we want to encourage and support our people who have supported us. And on the Thursday night, we are having the Burning Flames sound clash with the Flambeau songs in the area. I'm looking forward to that in the Tiroche area. I also want to thank all those who came out on the motorcade. We are expecting to have a constituency motorcade. Well, whistle stop on Sunday again. Because we've put measures in place to be able to have that in the constituency. They've told us we cannot venture outside of the boundaries of our own constituency. But you know, my constituency is big enough to last the whole day.
It's just huge.
Wendy will give her closing words.
And before you give your husband said a few weeks ago that you know the cure for malediction. I want to invite you after the elections for those people that believe they have malediction, because I think the incident that had happened when you were present, that individual needs to get the remedy. So one of these days, when you have that time, come back on Sky FM and let us know the remedy for malediction, because a lot of people are suffering with it. It's serious.
Okay. No, it was generational curse.
Generational curse.
Generational curses.
Yes.
Well, okay. All
she had actually done a study.
We'll come back.
She had done a study and a series and presented in church how to break family curses, the generational curses.
So it actually works.
The remedies in the Bible.
The remedies,
the maker, like Honda makes the vehicle and it tells you what to put in it.
Exactly.
The maker made us, and he has already prescribed what it is that we need to do to break the curses.
It's true.
So it's right there.
Just like medicine, the herbs are there, so we just have to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words?
But I'd like to thank the people of Castries Southeast for allowing us to come into their hearts, to come into their homes, to be part of them and their everyday living. I appreciate the way that they've accepted us. I mean, they come to our house, we're like family. Guy goes out, he's treated well. So it's not just about representing them and the things that he does, but it's about the way that they've received him and appreciate him as their minister.
Right.
And I personally am thankful for that.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm saying, this season, we know what we're gearing up for. I would like for all of those who have Flambeau at heart to go and put your cross where it is supposed to be. Don't just sit home and say, oh, Flambeau Hagen. No. The only way Flambeau can win is if you go out there and you put your cross.
That's right.
So I'm advising everyone, come out from every nook and cranny, every place in St. Lucia, and come put your vote. Also, while we are gearing up to that, while it is going on, make your own decisions. Listen to both sides if you need to, and make an informed decision. Don't just be Enough of that. We need to stop this. Don't reflect other men's thoughts. That's nonsense.
There may be a lot of bad influences.
Yes. So that's these are my parting words for tonight.
Beautiful. So next Monday we're going to have most of the clips of Castries Southeast. We're going to put all together and show the people, because this is the last Monday before the elections.
What I would also want, Champagne, and I don't know whether you can accommodate that on your program I think we need to do another prayer session.
We have one on the 23rd. That's 2 days before on the Friday, leading up to the elections.
Yes, because as I go around, we have a lot of people praying for us. And a lot of the people tell me, do not get too relaxed on the idea of the prayer. We need some intensity in the praying. We need the prayer warriors out there.
Yes.
Because this situation is far from over. And we know those who dabble on the other side of life to try that every attempt being made by this Labour Party to gain the seat of power is deceitful. We have not seen look at the treatment of the present Governor General by the Labour Party. And look at what they're encouraging on another side. So it's good for the goose, but it's not good for the gander. And you see what we are up against? Humans on their own cannot fight this. You see, my strength and my ability to cope with all of these things, prayer is the power that keeps us. And sometimes when she is one of my main intercessors. Even sometimes when I am fast asleep, she is up praying. And I know there are thousands and thousands of other people in St. Lucia and in my constituency who continually pray for me. I'm not superhuman, Champagne. We all have feelings. We get hurt. You know, you do the best that you can. You are being honest, and you know you are being honest. But you get accused of all of these things. You are a human being. But God always gives the strength to be able to endure and to overcome. And you see, for these people who pray for me, every day I tell them, that is the best gift that I receive every day. And there are some elderly people. I don't care if it's Holy Mary, what they pray, what they say, how they say it. It is the sincerity of heart, the genuineness with which they do it. God understands.
Amen.
This morning, before I left home, one of the last things we always do before we leave the house is we either kneel down to pray or we hold hands together. And the two of us, we pray. That is the final parting activity before I leave my home to go out there. And people can tell you, oh, you sapwe diek, you sapala about Christian male plimove. God knows the heart.
That's right.
And God knows that I genuinely love the people that I represent. And that's why I told them, if a day comes when I cannot give you 100% before you fire me, not my words, if you cannot give me 100, if I get to the point where I cannot give you 100% and you have not fired me yet, I will fire myself. But if I can still give 100%, I believe, but if you fire me, I will still say thank you for the opportunity to have served you. I'm never afraid of the outcome of elections, Champagne. I believe the people know what is best, and they know that Prime Minister Chasney is the best leader for St. Lucia. And because of that, they will vote every UWP candidate both as their candidate and as support for the Prime Minister for the wonderful job he has done. And I believe come 26, by this time, we will be out there celebrating
This is going to be
a massive victory of the United Workers' Party. And if anybody had doubts about that, Sunday would have erased all of these doubts and questions in the minds of people.
So now all we have to do is convince them to go out to vote.
Yes.
That is what's important.
Yes, they have to go out.
Must go out and vote. All right. Thank you, Mr. Joseph and Mrs. Joseph. And,
so, I kept her there for to see what it's like all the time.
But that's nothing, It's only 20 past. We left at 1 o'clock last week.
No, that's not right.
And we're going to be here doing some 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, as it approaches the day.
Because people want to hear, but then they want to sleep, and then, so they're conflicted.
Some people are not sleeping, trust me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you once again, Sanusha. You've been listening to the program Inside Castries Southeast. We will be going into the BBC, and we know we do have a lot of listeners of the BBC, so we want to say thank you very much. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be back at 9 o'clock. I don't know how I do it, because I've lost my voice over the last couple of days. I need some ginger tea, bois, then all kinds of stuff mixed up. So I hope tomorrow morning I'll be much better. Thank you very much. You have a good night, and say thank you to the great God above. Don't forget to say your prayers. Have a good one.
The former president.
Mon repos, Pasias, Mikud, Chapwet, Wale, Mikud village. We going and vote over there. Hola, Mikud North, you ready? Mikud North, there we go, Mikud North. What we say? Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Mikud North, who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. She give us roads with extension, that's a woman with a vision. New fields, parks and playgrounds, that's a woman with a vision. Preschool and community centers, that's a woman with a vision. Even gave us smart health centers. We voting at these elections. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Me good enough. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. You could say your family and me good enough. You could say your family and me good enough. Who sa nou ka bayo ti kwa? Ti kwa? Ti kwa? Nou ka bayo ti kwa? Ti kwa? Ti kwa? Gel ka bayo ti kwa? Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Me good enough. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. She give us roads with extension, that's a woman with a vision. New fields, parks and playgrounds, that's a woman with a vision. Preschool and community centers, that's a woman with a vision. Even gave us smart health centers. We voting at these elections. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Me good enough. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Who we voting for? We voting anti-girl for sure. Tikwa, 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 tikwa. Gel ka bayo tikwa, 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 tikwa. Gel ka bayo tikwa.
I think he's a good leader. I think he's the best leader for the country. I do not see anybody else that can manage the country the way, especially in the pandemic. He did a tremendous job. I don't see another person that can run the country. His leadership skills is amazing. He's an amazing person. He's always in the community. I foresee that he'll stay for probably next 10 years. We will see a difference in Lucia, for sure.
Captures all hope simply by just walking in. The moment you entered, we should have surrendered right then. You had a vision for all in the community. Your massive project, you shook the earth underneath.
This community center was in a very deplorable situation, and then we got assistance from our parliamentary rep, Mr. Dominic Fede, and he took the initiative to rebuild it into what it is today.
You could come here downstairs, you could have it for some parties, some events, you know, or a gathering or a meeting. And upstairs you could also have it, it has computers there as well, you could use it just to do some researching online and stuff. So it's very useful for us.
My rep, Dominic Fede, has fulfilled all his campaign promises. He said he will do the Blackstone and Cemetery Road, he did it. He said he will build the daycare center, he did it. The Jackmel playing field, he did it. The road from Roseau to Vanna, he did it. Dominic Fede, let's keep working. 5 more years.
As a frontline worker, I believe in keeping myself, my family, and my patients safe. I believe the government has done a remarkable job in limiting the spread of the coronavirus in terms of handling the vaccination process. They've been doing an amazing job, and I recommend that everyone gets vaccinated. I encourage the whole of St. Lucia to get vaccinated. I got vaccinated for you, so get vaccinated for me.